All right, let's talk about fame. Because right now, we're seeing these massive stories playing out in the headlines, all about the highs, the lows, and everything in between. We've got triumph, total turmoil, and even some deep seated trauma. And it's all happening right in the public eye. So let's get into it.
So what do they all have in common? Well, each one of them is basically living out a different, wild chapter of what it means to be famous today. You've got these incredible wins right next to public fallouts. It's a crazy picture of life in the spotlight. Let's kick things off at the very, very top with a story of pure, undeniable victory.
And that brings us to our first story, the absolutely incredible rise of the self-proclaimed swamp princess from Tampa. Yeah, we're talking about Doechii. Her journey lately, it's been nothing short of spectacular.
You heard that right. That powerful line is straight from her Grammy acceptance speech, and it went viral. It's a message that just clicked with millions of people. It perfectly sums up the realness and the confidence that's kind of been her signature. You know, this wasn't just her win. She really made it feel like a win for everybody watching. And when we say her rise has been fast, we mean it. It's been meteoric. First, she drops this killer breakout mixtape. Alligator bites never heal. Then she goes and makes history, becoming only the third Black woman ever to snag a Grammy for Best Rap Album. And she's not stopping there. Nope. She used her huge set at Lollapalooza to announce her very first headlining tour. And this right here, this moment shows you just how smart she is. She's not just an amazing artist, she totally gets the game. Bringing out JT from behind a bunch of umbrellas, that was a hilarious and super clever nod to this whole viral thing about her supposed backstage demands. It just proves she's got a great sense of humor and, more importantly, she knows exactly how to control her own story. Okay, so that's a major high. But fame, as we know, isn't always a victory lap. So now we're going to shift gears from a massive career peak to a moment of real professional turmoil. And this one involves an NFL Hall of Famer and huge fan favorite, Shannon Sharpe. Yeah, the sports world was pretty much stunned by this one. A huge shakeup over at ESPN. All of a sudden, Sharpe is out at First Take. And the rumor mill is just spinning like crazy, with people saying his own podcast co-host, Chad Ochocinco, might be the one to take his seat. Ochocinco even guest hosted and was like, yeah, I could get used to this, which just adds a whole other layer to this thing. But, you know, behind all those headlines, there's a real person here. Sharpe talked about how disappointed he was that the news about him getting fired broke right before his brother, Sterling, was getting inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I mean, what timing? It's just a powerful reminder that with all this public drama, we're still talking about real people navigating huge personal and family moments. All right, our third story. This is where fame, politics, and the law all crash into each other in a really high-stakes way. We're talking about Sean Diddy Combs and former President Donald Trump. And just to be clear, we're just going to lay out the facts on this one, exactly as they've been reported. So here's the headline. President Trump has said he probably won't be giving a presidential pardon to Diddy. And this all comes right after Combs was convicted on 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution. And when he was asked about it, Trump gave this explanation. He called Combs sort of half innocent, but then pointed out that Diddy's hostile comments about him when he ran for office, quote, makes it more difficult to do. It's a really frank look at how personal beefs can play into these huge political decisions. And, of course, the public drama didn't end there. Not by a long shot. Diddy's longtime rival, 50 Cent, jumped on social media almost immediately to weigh in. He posted this AI-generated picture along with a taunt, which just goes to show you how these high-profile beefs play out in real time for all of us to see. So the timeline here is really, really important to understanding this. You've got the arrest back in September 2024. After the election, the lobbying for a pardon seems to have started. But then came the conviction in July of this year, and with sentencing set for October, That whole campaign seems to have hit a massive brick wall. Okay, for our last story, we're going to shift again. We're moving away from the political and the legal and into something deeply, deeply personal. We're going to look at the vulnerability of a true pop superstar, Michelle Williams, and a fear that's been chasing her for almost 20 years. I mean, think about it. It's a question we can all probably relate to, right? That one mistake, that one embarrassing moment at work or school that just sticks in your head. Well, for Michelle Williams, her moment was broadcast live to millions of people. She's talking about that infamous moment, you might remember it, back in 2004, when she tripped during a Destiny's Child performance on 106 in Park. It became one of those early iconic internet memes. And as she opens up here, she said the trauma from that one fall still messes with her head every single time she performs, especially when she's on stage with Beyoncé and Kelly. But let's get one thing straight. Even with that persistent fear, Michelle Williams is an absolute powerhouse. We're talking about a Grammy winner, a Tony-nominated Broadway star, and, of course, a crucial third of one of the biggest girl groups of all time. Her being this honest about her fear, that's not weakness. That is incredible strength. That's resilience. So when you put it all together, these stories of triumph, turmoil, politics, and trauma, what does it all tell us? In a world where there's a new headline every second, these stories kind of pull back the curtain on the real human stuff happening behind all that fame. And it leaves you with a big question, right? In the nonstop, harsh glare of the spotlight, is there any room left to just be human?